What's up, my comic comrades? It's no secret that the DC universe is once again in a state of flux, to say the least. I mean, in 2011, we got the New 52, then in 2016, DC started to shift away from that with DC Rebirth, then they continued down this path in 2017 with their initiative simply called DC Universe. And the DC Rebirth one-shot that kicked off the Rebirth era in 2016 finally came full circle with the finale of Doomsday Clock in December of 2019, which I loved. If you haven't read Doomsday Clock and you don't know how it ended, you'll want to check out this video right here. It's a really good story. Side note, I'm actually a really big fan of the DC Rebirth era in general, as I thought it took the best of the new and old DC and then merged them together. Anyway, by the end of the Doomsday Clock finale, we saw all the rich history and characters that longtime DC fans loved restored, while also managing to keep some of the best elements and characters from recent DC canon. Basically, it fixed everything, and I was Jack thinking to myself, yes, Jeff Johns course corrected everything. This is going to be an awesome path to follow. But while I was still mentally digesting what Johns was doing in Doomsday Clock, rumblings that DC heads wanted to change things up yet again started to emerge. Something we now know is true, as they're going to be introducing their Generation Zero and or 5G initiative this coming Free Comic Book Day, which of course is where Luke Fox will become Batman, Captain Boomerang's son will become the new Flash, Jonathan Kent will become Superman, and so on and so forth. Now, I personally don't know why you would spend years trying to fix and course correct everything only to shake it up and change everything yet again almost at the exact same time. Although with the recent departure of DC co-publisher Dan DiDio, things may change. But either way, too many pieces have already been set into motion, so maybe not drastically. Who knows? The point I'm trying to make is there's lots of changes happening and to come for DC in the next coming years, and the Flash may be at the center of it, whether you're talking about Barry Allen or the original Wally West. And this is where we're going to start getting into spoiler territory for issues 86 through 88 of The Flash, as well as the Flash Forward miniseries and the Doomsday Clock finale. So at the end of Doomsday Clock, Superman inspires Dr. Manhattan to not only course correct and fix all the changes he made to the DC universe, Superman also convinces Manhattan to fix his own universe, the Watchmen universe, giving up his power and imbuing it in Mime and Marionette's son so that he can grow up to be the Watchmen world's version of Superman. And then at the end of the Flash Forward miniseries, the original Wally West comes in possession of the Mobius chair and quickly realizes that the chair has absorbed some of Dr. Manhattan's powers, which in turn gives Wally West Dr. Manhattan's powers. So Dr. Manhattan seemingly gave his life to create a Superman, so to speak, for his universe, and now Wally West is imbued with Dr. Manhattan's powers as well. Now, we're not exactly sure how any of this is going to pan out at the moment, but it gets even crazier, friends, because it seems that not only do we have two characters with Dr. Manhattan's powers running around, DC may have just also introduced an evil Dr. Manhattan on top of all of this. Now, it's not literally an evil version of Dr. Manhattan, but you'll see where I'm getting at in a bit. At the end of Flash issue 87, future Barry Allen from the Flash Year 1 storyline, which we covered right here, shows up in front of Barry and Arris. Future Barry tells present Barry, "I know we thought we fixed the future, but when you beat the turtle, time was changed so we could live our life our way, without the loop. Everything was safe, but we were wrong, Barry. We shouldn't have broken the loop. We created a paradox." Future Barry then tells present Barry, "You need to find Commander Cold," which present Barry says he's dead. At which point, Barry starts disintegrating and withering away, looking like something out of the Thriller music video, saying, "Then it's too late, Barry. We made him, and now Paradox is coming for us and our legacy. There's only one thing left to do: run." At which point, Iris then asks Barry, "Who's Paradox?" This brings us to Flash issue 88, where we find out who the heck Paradox is. We find out that the man who would become Paradox and possibly an evil version of Dr. Manhattan, again, I'll get to that in a bit, is the same man Barry bumped into in the Flash issue 70, the first issue of the Flash Year 1 storyline. Barry bumped into said man the same night he would get his powers. We find out that the man Barry bumped into's name is Chris, and he just so happens to be an ordinary dude with a wife and kids, who's a scientist who's obsessed with reality, time travel, and the multiverse. So much so, he's constantly working in his lab at home, building a telescope that would allow him to see the multiverse, alternate realities, and timelines, and thought the real secret was that reality shifts around us because of changes in time, but we just can't see it. So he dedicated his life to prove this. And one night while experimenting, on the same exact night Barry Allen got his powers, Chris saw the multiverse, as his calibrations lined up perfectly with a lightning storm. To which he says, "Oh my, I was right. Time was so much bigger than I had hoped. It was like I was witnessing the hand of God pull back the curtains on the multiverse. But it wasn't just a vision. For that moment, I could feel the power of our time stream flow through me. but then it passed. So he spent the next year trying to recreate that one night, so he would see the multiverse again. But it would all be for naught until he got too close to the Flash and Turtle fighting, which we see the full battle play out in the Flash Year 1 storyline. For some reason, he and 3 other people get transported away or banished to a realm beyond the known multiverse. A lockbox safe from the manipulations of time and space, a wasteland of the forgotten. But because of his brief interaction with the multiverse during the previously mentioned lightning storm, his body and mind were altered and more attuned to the multiverse. So he survived, while the other 3 died. Basically, they were just too close to him when he got transported, so they accidentally got pulled in. Long story short, all Chris wants to do is return home to his wife and kids. So with his newfound powers that are still developing at this point, he literally steps through time and arrives in his old living room. But his family is threatened by him as he's essentially been turned into a monster, and they don't recognize him, so he leaves and jumps back into the time stream. He arrives in the 25th century with Reverse Flash and the Rogues, who are continuing Flash's legacy. So they lock him up. If that sounds weird to you that the Rogues and the Reverse Flash are continuing Flash's legacy, you gotta read the comic for that little detail. But when Flash broke the force barrier because of the chain reaction, that reverberated all the way to Chris, damaging Iron Heights enough so that he could escape. And at this point in time, Chris's powers are almost fully realized. And then at some point in time, he got a hold of Godspeed to be his herald, so to speak. But can we just talk about something real quick? This dude somehow became so powerful that Godspeed is working for him. You know, Godspeed, the speedster who was shown to be so fast he could literally be in 2 places at once. And this is why I'm speculating Paradox could be the evil version of Dr. Manhattan. Not because he's literally just an evil version of Dr. Manhattan, but because from the little we know about him, his power is directly tied to the time stream. Literally, his primary function as we know it is to absorb the energy created by change in the time stream. Which is why he hates the Flash so much, as he says when it comes down to changing the flow of time, no one is more guilty than the Flash. Always running forward past all warning signs, never looking back at the lives he's crushed under his boot. But again, for some reason or another, these changes to the timeline power him. And with all the changes in time and realities recently going on in the DC universe, like in the Doomsday Clock storyline, Perpetua changing things at the end of Justice League issue 39, and now Generation Zero, this dude could potentially become beyond powerful. And given the fact that we already know that his powers directly derive and coincide with the timeline in the multiverse, could he potentially possess powers as great as Dr. Manhattan as we move forward in the next generation of DC Universe continuity? To me, it would kind of make sense considering you've just imbued Wally West Flash with the powers of Dr. Manhattan, meaning he's gonna have to have an antagonist equally as strong. And considering Paradox was just created in the Flash comic and we now have Wally West going around with all these powers, that definitely seems like a possibility. But more so than that, friends, on the last page of the Flash Forward issue 6 comic and then the last page of Flash issue 88, both say to be continued in Flash issue 750. Is that a coincidence? I think not. Also, if you didn't know, they're renumbering the Flash title yet again to its original numbering, which is why it's jumping from issue 88 to issue 750. Anyway, all I'm saying is all of this is coming to a head, and whether it's the way I'm theorizing or not, it's connected somehow, and I'm very curious to see just how. But of course, this is just my theory of how things may turn out, but what do you guys think? What's your 2 cents? Let us know in the comment section below. And that's gonna bring another episode of Variant to a close, but if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to check out our Flash Year 1 episode right here, and if you like our channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out. I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.